Colonel, you still under oath? You still under oath, Colonel?
Yes, my lady.
Thank you. Yes. Not sure, did you indicate something like you needed water?
Yes, I relied on my colleagues and they
Yes.
will see to it. Thank you, my lady.
Yes, Mr. Rowe?
Thank you, my lady. Colonel, are you a certified tool mark examiner?
My lady, I'm not a certified tool mark examiner, but the technique that I used here was that of a physical match, which is very similar to tool mark investigations. And I've done international proficiency tests in shoe print investigations, and the principles of that is very similar to what is applied in this instance. I've passed all the international proficiency tests on that, my lady.
Have you done microscopic imaging of the mark on the door, the first one that you say was caused by the cricket bat?
I've not done a microscopic examination on the door, my lady, no.
Because what was striking to me, and I'll come back to the photos, even when on your version, for the time being, when you put the bat on that mark, some part of the mark was sticking out. It did not match fully on your on the photo that you took, and I'll come back to that. It was not a perfect match.
The reason why I took it like that, my lady, is just to show the mark. Otherwise, the mark would have been totally obscured by the cricket bat. And that is the reason why the bat was just slightly moved away from the door.
What different movements? Well, before I get there, I looked at your evidence, and you say that what you came to the conclusion, or you held the view that Mr. Pistorius, when he hit the bat against the door, was in the same position as the time when he fired the shots.
No.
His stumps.
My lady, that is not what I meant. I meant the height was similar to that when he fired the shots. I did not say he was in the same position. I meant, if you understand it as being in the same position, that was not what I meant. I meant his height was most probably be in the same than when he fired the shots.
I agree with that. I fully agree with that. Do you know when he fired the shots, whether he was on his stumps or on the prosthesis?
My lady, I was present when the door was investigated for the bullet holes, and from that I learned that he was not on his prosthesis when the shots were fired.
That's not the state's case. We have further particulars, and the state's case is that he was on his prosthesis.
It's not my case. If it's read in the further particulars, interpreted as such, it's not. The expert evidence of Captain Mangena was disclosed to the defence. It's clear from that we say he was not on his prosthesis. It's not my case that he was on his prosthesis. That was perhaps something that happened in the bail application. But as I'm standing here today, and the evidence of Captain Mangena would be that he was not on his prosthesis. And I did not say that he was in the further particulars.
Yes, Mr. Rowe?
May I just check something? I know it's correct to refer to the bail. That was the case. Yes, that was indeed at the bail application. That's indeed.
That's correct, my lady.
Colonel, we will ask you now, and you would have seen, because we did it when you were standing there, on different body positions, different shoulder turns, different distances from the door, that we could replicate the same mark on the door in a standing position. You saw that?
I saw you running around the door here, my lady, but I was not physically present to hear what they were discussing.
Was I running there or standing with the bat?
There was a big commotion around the door, my lady.
Now, before I get to that, because we will demonstrate it and we'll ask you to do some demonstrations on what we ask you, to show to you that it's a match when someone is standing and hitting the door. And I'm talking about the first mark that you referred to.
The smaller one of the two,
Yeah.
my lady.
Have you done tests from different distances to see if you could match it?
I have done tests, my lady, and there's in fact another mark that I'll show you on the bat, which confirmed my finding, which is not in the photographs because it was kind of in the back of the bat. So I'm very, very happy to elaborate further on that, my lady.
First dealing with the first mark. We'll go to all
No,
the
I'm talking about the first mark, sir.
Have you done tests standing up to see if it matches that mark?
Lady, with utmost respect, the witness said, in a response to a question, I've seen a mark, I'm willing to elaborate, I'll show you if I can have the bat. He should now be granted the opportunity to do so. That was his response. His full response should be before court before there's a further question asked. The witness said, I know there's a mark that I can show you, and that would confirm my view. The lady should be given the opportunity to do that and not ask a different question.
My lady, the state is entitled to re-examine the witness. It's cross-examination. We will get to every point. We will get to the demonstrations. And it's not for the state to dictate what we should ask where.
But lady, with the utmost respect, I'm not dictating. All I'm putting to court is, this witness is still busy answering. Then the next question is filed. He said, I'll show you.
Well, the witness was done with the answer, not so.
No,
Not
that's not my interpretation. His answer was, I can show you.
Yes, but if Mr. Roux chooses not to use that opportunity, the state is there to make sure that what he wants to show us is shown.
That is so, lady, but with the utmost respect, and it's the last argument on this, the witness is still answering. He indicated to court, I will answer, but I need something to complete my answer. I can go back to it, but the witness should be allowed to answer.
That's not how I gathered.
As a court, please.
That's not what I gathered.
As a court, please.
Thank you.
Thank
Yes, Mr. Roux?
Thank you, my lady. If I may proceed then.
Yes, please.
I want you to go, if with the leave of the court, to go to the door and first, I'm not going on exact heights now. First, stand on your knees with the bat. You have a little... It's not, we don't need it right now. If you can just do that for me with the bat in your hand, Colonel.
My lady, can I just have the bat?
And I know you're going to be lower now because you're not standing with your knees on the little bench, but just for present purposes, on the carpet.
Do you mean on my knees?
Yes,
flat
on your
the floor?
knees, like you would hit the door as you demonstrated. Would you now do me a favor and lift your feet? Because Mr. No, stand down, on your knees, but lift your feet up. Up. Beat it now.
I can't see what's happening. Just explain to me what is
Are
happening.
you losing your balance?
I'm off balance, yes, my lady.
You can try it again in case you think there's a trick in it.
No, but
You
I
can
don't.
tell the court what happened to you.
My lady, when I lift my feet, I'm off balance.
Mr. Pistorius, I was trying, and we'll get to that at a later point, to show it is fine to illustrate someone standing on his knees, but with support by his feet. And what I want to put to you, he has even less support than your knees. We'll get to that, and expert evidence on that. He has even less support than you. So are you saying, and have you tested that? A person standing on stumps like you would stand on your knees and trying to have some balance in hitting the door with the bat.
My lady, I'm not an expert in this, and I haven't been around people that doesn't have legs, so I'm not willing to give a statement on this. Let's leave it there.
Well, let's look at the experiment. Can you tell the court now that you're back in front of the microphone, what happened to you when you lifted your feet just to be on your knees?
I lost my balance, my lady.
Could you hit the door with the bat?
Well, I don't know whether I would be able to do it.
To try again?
If I grew up without legs, that would be a different story. The other argument is also valid, my lady. If he had enough balance to fire a firearm, then I would suspect that he would have enough balance to hit the door with a cricket bat.
Can I ask you again? Would you want to go back, take the bat, and see if you can keep your balance and have power to hit the door? You want to do it?
My lady, I'm not going to do it because I'm not in the same position as what Mr. Pistorius was. I'm not used to being on my knees trying to execute actions like that.
What? Sorry,
I don't think it's going to be worthwhile for me going there. I've already indicated that I cannot hold my balance.
In what position was Mr. Pistorius when he fired the shots?
As I understand it, my lady, he was kind of with an angle towards the door.
In what position was he?
From the ballistic evidence, he was on his stumps, my lady.
Yes, and was there any support or not?
Not that I know of.
Do you know or don't you know?
Not that I know of, my lady.
But before we get to the further demonstrations, I need to understand the preservation of the scene. I looked at the bat. What's happened to the rubber handle of the bat? The rubber piece?
My lady, I'm not in a position to testify about the rubber handle. When I received the bat, it was in this condition. It is my understanding, though, and I'm up for correction, but it's my understanding that the rubber was removed for fingerprint analysis.
When did you get the bat?
I got the bat, it's in my statement, my lady. That was on the 26th of April.
Who did you get it from?
I got it from the Forensic Science Laboratory Administration Section, my lady.
Do you know who it was?
My lady, it would typically be the lady responsible for our exhibit store. We have a system where we book out our exhibits from the exhibit store with biometrics, where you scan your fingerprint when the evidence sealing bag number is recorded on the system, and only then do I receive it.
Do you know where it was preserved from the time of the incident to the time that you received it?
No, my lady, I wouldn't be able to say exactly what happened with it after it was collected from the scene until it got to the laboratory.
I'm asking you this for two reasons. The second one is that we need to understand the preservation of an exhibit. And the first one is, but I assume Mr. Botha will deal with that in his evidence, Mr. Hilton Botha, that when we looked at the photographs on that day, the bat was found in different positions. And we're trying to find out who preserved the scene and how it was possible for the bat to change positions. Would you know anything about it?
My lady, I would not be able to say anything about the collection of the bat, the position it was in. I only became involved later on in the investigation when the scene was already processed. So what happened on the scene, I do not have any information about.
And let's look at a door. When did you see the door for the first time?
I saw the door for the first time on the 8th of March when I together with other colleagues and
8th of March last year.
last year, yes, ma'am,
2013.
my lady.
Yes.
When we went back to the crime scene on the 8th of March, that was the first time that I saw the door, my lady.
Was the door taken to the crime scene?
The door was taken to the crime scene, my lady.
And who preserved the door up to then?
My lady, on the 8th of March, the door arrived with Mr. Mangena. So I guess he had custody of the door before that. When he got hold of the door and when it was left in his custody, I would not be able to say.
I tell you why I ask you, because we will show through photographs that there are additional marks on the door, and we're trying to find out where those marks come from, because those marks do not appear on the photographs of the 14th of February 2013.
I would not be able to say where those marks came from, my lady. The door was never in my custody. So I would not be able to elaborate on additional marks if there is additional marks.
Have you, for instance, now examining the door, taken this one step to say, please show me the photographs taken on the day of the 14th, so that I can compare if this door was in fact preserved or whether there are additional marks on the door? Have you done that?
My lady, no, I did not request any photographs from the crime scene, no.
Did you think it was necessary to look at all the marks and to first of all establish whether all the marks were indeed on the door on the 14th when the photographs were taken?
My lady, if there was additional marks on the door, none of those marks drew my attention to the bat. It was only those two marks that I've already indicated that formed part of my investigation. And those marks I saw for the first time on the 8th of March last year when we did the crime scene.
What happened to, I see there are pieces missing off the door.
Again,
where are those?
Again, my lady, I cannot say what happened to those. As you can see, the door was broken open on the day of the incident. Those pieces might have not been collected. I do not know. I would not be able to say where those pieces are. They probably got left on the scene or whatever. I cannot say that.
It doesn't make sense to me, Colonel. You go to a scene. We all heard about the importance of the door. Surely you don't leave pieces of the exhibit behind on the scene. Is that how it works?
It was not me, my lady. So I cannot say what happened to those. I was not on the scene when the door was collected.
Have you ever asked for those pieces?
My lady, for me, that was not part of my investigation. I had to look at the marks at the door. So the pieces that were missing, I had to deal with the door without those pieces. That is the exhibit that I received.
But surely when I look at this, the opening there, the missing pieces, it would be interesting to know if those pieces have marks on consistent with a cricket bat.
It would have been interesting, and it could have shed some more light, confirmed or whatever on my findings. But that is what I had to deal with, my lady. Very often when you do crime scene investigations, you do not have all of the evidence available. And as far as I know, that is not available for investigation.
Well, the first question that I think you should ask is, where are the pieces? And take steps to try and establish whether they exist, whether they can be brought to you. And what I'm trying to find out from you, Colonel, is whether you took those steps at all, and if so, to share that with us.
My lady, it did come to my mind, and if I remember correctly, there were discussions about the missing pieces, but from what I could establish from the door and the two marks, I was happy to go without those pieces.
Who did you have the discussions with?
My lady, that was over the past year that the door was discussed amongst us, and I cannot exactly remember who it was discussed with, but I remember missing pieces on the door being an issue at some stage.
And what was the feedback that you received?
I was not able to get any missing pieces or be able to locate any missing pieces, my lady.
Did they tell you that the pieces are gone, they're missing, or did they tell you they're somewhere but they don't know where they are?
My lady, the information that I have, or the understanding that I have, is that the pieces are not available.
Who told you that they're not available?
Well, as I said, I cannot remember exactly who I spoke to, but nowhere that any of those exhibits appeared in the SAP 13 or whatever. So there's no evidence of those pieces, my lady.
Did you keep any notes on what you were doing in relation to the door?
Yes, my lady. All my notes is actually recorded on with a camera. So I relied on the photos taken during my investigation. And I can also mention that the photos that were shown this morning are not the only photos. The defence has got they have all the photos taken during my investigation in their possession, my lady.
But there must be a forensic docket.
There is a case file. We do have case files in the laboratory.
Could you make that available?
I can make it available if it's an issue, but as I said, my notes and my recollections of the investigation are all in the photographs, my lady.
And I tell you why we request that from you, because I think it's not in dispute that you gave a report, and what is not in the report is that the accused must have or was on his stumps when he hit the door with the cricket bat. That's not in your report.
My lady, as I said earlier in my evidence in chief, was that by the time that I did the investigation on the door, the only request to me was to determine if there were any marks on the door that related to the cricket bat. I was not requested to determine the state or whether Mr. Pistorius was wearing his prosthesis or not. And that is why it's not in my report. And I've said that explicitly during my evidence in chief.
But that's not what it's all about. We know one thing. While you're at the forensics department, when you have additional information and you have a report, you bring out a second report.
My lady, as I said in my evidence in chief, during the consultation, I think it was in November, the first consultation with Mr. Nell regarding my report, I just mentioned it to him as a side note that my observation is that Mr. Pistorius was not on his legs, he was on his stumps when the door was hit, not knowing that it was an issue. And then Mr. Nell pointed out to me that that there's a discrepancy with his statement, as in the statement in the bail hearing, apparently Mr. Pistorius said that he was on his prosthesis when he hit the door.
But then you go, because now you know it is important. Then you do a report so that that report can be filed in the docket, that is no surprises, and say, well, I have since seen this, and I think in all fairness, let's disclose this and make a second report available. Why was that not done?
My lady, by that time my case file was already closed and finished on the system at the laboratory. I did discuss it with Mr. Nell, and as far as I know, he did disclose it to the defence. So for me to go and make another report was actually not necessary.
It is shortly before the trial, in a late submission of a further particulars to say the accused was on his stumps. That's what the state will say. No report. Let's see, when did you come to this finding? That according to you, he must have been on his stumps when he hit the door with the cricket bat. When was that?
My lady, as I said several times now, when I did the inspection on the door on the 30th of April last year, I did notice that the marks were low, and I did mention the measurement of my shoulder height, matching the angle of the bat as it was deducted from the marks on the door. So I was, in my mind, already confident on the 30th of April last year that Mr. Pistorius was not on his prosthesis. With that said, it was not an issue at that stage. It was never an issue for me. It was never something that I had to put in a report, because by that time Mr. Mangena also spoke to me and confirmed to me that Mr. Pistorius was not on his stumps when he fired the shots. So it was not an issue for me. It was basically confirming what Mr. Mangena said at that stage. I was only in November of 2013 was I informed that there was allegations that Mr. Pistorius was not on his stumps when he hit the door.
Why then not a report?
As I said, my lady, I did inform the prosecutor in the case about it in an informal discussion, and I left it in his hands, my lady.
But what I'm trying to understand, it is for the first time in one sentence disclosed in February 2014. I'm trying to find out now with that knowledge, and insofar as you're correct, with that knowledge, November, December and January and a part of February, you're from the forensics department, go back to your forensic docket, open it and do a report.
My lady, I did inform the prosecution about that. I couldn't see another reason why I must physically go and write a report. Our 212 statements serves as a ways of presenting evidence in court. It doesn't mean it has to be a 212 statement on all of our findings. So at that stage, I was happy that I did inform the relevant people and the necessary people about what I found there, and that's why I didn't write the report.
You understand, of course, that there's one purpose to disclose the contents of the docket to the accused, and that is to inform him about a case for him not to be ambushed. That part you understand?
I understand that absolutely, my lady.
Now, did you feel satisfied that the information going in the docket was not dealing with your views that the accused was, according to you, on his stumps when he hit the door with the cricket bat?
That's a very long sentence.
I'm sorry, can I break that up?
Yes.
I'll be glad. Thank you, my lady.
Were you satisfied that it was fair just to have your 212 statement not dealing with the fact that the accused, according to you, was on his stumps when he hit the door?
I was happy because I relate the message to the point where all the information is going to, and from where the necessary information would be distributed again, my lady.
Now, my understanding is that you did the test on the 30th April 2012.
That is when I inspected the door and the cricket bat, my lady.
And where was that done?
That was done at the ballistic section at the Forensic Science Laboratory, my lady.
What you did not do, you did not go back to the house, get permission, and fix the door into the frame.
My lady, that was not necessary to do that, because we had the height of the door when we were there on the 8th of March for the scene. All the measurements were taken, so I knew exactly how high the door was from the floor and how high the marks were from the floor. So when we put up the door there at the ballistic section on the 30th of April, it was not necessary for me to go back to the house, my lady.
What was the door standing against on the 30th, to keep it up straight?
On the 30th, my lady, it was standing up against one of the cabinets at the ballistic section.
What kept it up straight and not leaning? Because I looked at photos and it appeared that it was leaning slightly against the cabinet.
It was indeed leaning slightly, my lady, but the angle of the door leaning slightly was not such that it would have influenced any of my my investigations. I did take that into account when I did the investigations, my lady.
The hit of the door, that's basically also a trajectory. The movement of the bat, that's a trajectory. It's not a firearm, a bullet trajectory, but it's the cricket bat trajectory.
It's a movement in the direction, yes, my lady.
It's a trajectory that you must determine to see if it could match with the mark on the door. We're all talking about the first mark. It's basically a trajectory that you must follow.
My lady, the investigation that I did, I had a mark on the door and I had a cricket bat, and I had to determine in what position that bat was. Doesn't matter what the trajectory was before it contacted with the door. I had to determine the mark on the door, in what position the bat had to be to cause that mark.
Well, if it was a firearm, let me understand. Would it have made a difference if the door was angled?
If it was a firearm, my lady, depending on the dimension of the target through which the bullet went, that could have influenced the finding slightly. But as I said, this is not a firearm. I had a mark on the door, and I had to match the bat with a mark on the door. The angle, whether it was 1 degree or 2 degrees, would not have made a major impact. In fact, if the door was like this, and the bat was from this side, if the door was standing exactly perpendicular to the floor, the handle of the bat would even be lower than, although very slightly, it would have been lower than what it was with that very slight angle, my lady.
Now, what positions did you take in when you determined the matching of the mark, the first mark? What body positions?
Initially, I just used the bat and I tried to figure out how the bat could have been used to cause those marks. And then I eventually discovered that the bat must have been in that one position. And after I did the analysis on the second hole, it was only then that I kind of crouched down to try and see what the normal position or the expected position would be of the person wielding the bat.
What is this expected position? What did you take into account to determine the expected position?
The expected position, my lady, I took that as the reasonable position for someone hitting a door. You can imagine if a tall person has to hit that thing, he will be in a kind of an unnatural position. And if we just think about our normal actions, we will usually unconsciously be in a natural position when we do any actions. I'm not standing on my knees when I'm doing the dishes. That's not a usual position to do the dishes, if I can explain it that way. To be very extreme now.
I wanted to say maybe when you're scared of your wife, you can do it in that way. I want Mr. Kruger, with the leave of the court, my lady, to go to the door. It's just the candidate attorney, not to get the witness to move away from the door, just to assist in the demonstration.
Yes.
Thank you, my lady. And if you would kindly hand him the bat. I would first want you to stand up straight and put the bat matching in a position. Just put it in the matching position. You're welcome to go closer and then to inspect and to see if it matches.
My lady, I can see it from here, doesn't match. It's very easy to look at the distance and try and simulate the position. But if you're welcome to come down, and you will see that if the bat was in that position, the corner of the bat, of the backside of the bat, would have made a very distinct mark in the door. Whereas the mark that he's referring to now is a more flat surface with the bat, which corresponds with the side of the bat. And if it was in this position like he's holding it now, then the mark would have been different, my lady.
Just go to the door, if the ladyship will allow you, and see if it is on the mark. Put it till you're satisfied that's on the mark. You surely, are you suggesting that he hit the door with a flat bat? You can go back.
Not a. No, I did not say he hit it with a flat bat. We must maybe just get the definition of a flat bat correctly. But what I said was that the side of the bat is also flat, and the mark on that door corresponds with the side of the bat, the flat side of the bat, not as what he had it there, where the bat was at a very acute angle or a big angle, which would have caused a much sharper mark in the door.
Well, if you would not mind to go now and show us when you hit the door, you can just stop short, how you would get the bat in that flat position. And then we'll go to the second position. Stand
in a flat position, I would.
No, on the side, I mean.
Okay, this is not a flat, it's a side-on position, I would.
The side-on position.
You wanted me to?
Yes. Just don't break the door, please. Just go close. You can hit it. Go lower now. Stand a little bit back. Now you don't have to bend your knees. Just stand a little bit back and use your back. Put it now on the mark. What is it that you say?
I say I'm in an unnatural position at the moment, my lady.
Is it unnatural to you?
Just do that again. Unnatural position because I have to reach out
Would you go back and bring your body forward and tell me what's unnatural? What is unnatural about that?
Mr. Pistorius would not be able to reach this much further.
Why not?
Because, my lady...
Okay, can you go back to the microphone? Why not?
My lady, as I said, and you must realize that my finding was not just on the one mark. My finding was based on both marks. And if you look at both marks, there's very distinct marks on the side of the bat, together with a physical match that gave me the angle of the bat.
Well, let's take it step by step. Go back to that position that you say is unnatural, and I'm sorry that I don't see it, but yes. Go back and now compare it with the mark in that position.
My lady,
and tell us what the mark will show.
I'm of the opinion if we take do the investigation in isolation, that we will be able to skew the findings at the end. So that is why I said it's important to look at the total investigation, to look at all the factors that was taken into account when I made my findings.
What do you mean that it's possible to skew the investigation?
My lady, what I meant with that was that if you just look at things in isolation and do not take into account the other factors, then one might get to, on specific things, might get into onto a different finding. And that's why it's important for me to also show the marks on the second shot to substantiate my findings.
But please do it. Can I just go back to this? I'm so sorry, Colonel. The first mark you could do by hitting the door, but you say that's in isolation. You could replicate the mark, but you say that was in isolation.
That's not what I said, my lady. I just said we must be careful not to look at different things and argue it in isolation. Then we might skew the findings.
Let's just go back. Before you go back to the door, on on your demonstration we could explain the first mark. I understand in isolation, but we could explain it in a standing up position. Not so?
That's correct, my lady. And there's maybe another mark that, and I must confess, I saw it this morning as well, which further confirms my finding.
Let's go to the second mark then.
I do not know whether it's allowable now to also indicate to the defence a second mark on this, which will confirm my finding on the first.
Tell us about the second mark, and then we'll do the test on both scenarios.
My lady, I would like to indicate to the defence there, on the side of the bat here, there's a very distinct red mark which also corresponds with the edge of the door here. If the bat was used to hit it like that, which is a further confirmation. And I must confess that I discovered this morning when I took the bat out of the evidence sealing bag. Excuse me. And I think it's important that the defence have a look at that to just accustom themselves with that mark as well.
Just show us how that mark could only be caused to the bat. If you stand on your knees, to show how that mark could only be caused in that position.
On my knees or on my on a lifted position.
On a lifted position on your knees. What is it? You can go back and say what you demonstrate.
My lady, what I demonstrated just now was the mark that I found on the door actually fitted very well with the side of the toe of the bat.
Now go back and hit it in a standing position.
And you want me to hit it in the same position?
Yes. What do you say?
My lady, that is why I want the defence to have a look at this mark, which will confirm that the bat was not in the position that I was in when I did it the last time now. That the bat was actually, the handle of the bat, the angle of the bat was much lower than what it was in the last instance.
We'll come back to that because it's new. Let's go to the third mark. Do we say that it fits into the mark? The opening, yes.
And what do you want me to?
Just show me how it fit in there. Now put it in. Is it in the whole way?
My lady, can I maybe just clarify this to the defence? And I'm going to do it by an example. If you take a nail and you hit it into a piece of wood and you pull it out and you try to push it in there again without the force of a hammer, then you're not going to be able to push it in there just lightly. There is a certain amount of what do you call it, expansion when you put force onto the bat, and that is exactly what happened here. The bat was hit with force when it went through the door, and that was when the physical match, well, that was when the mark was formed. And now to just slightly try and put it, or lightly try and put it back into that mark is not gonna work if you do not use a lot of force to do that. And that is why the bat doesn't go in just like a key in a lock.
Go in this position where you're standing and go to the same opening. Stand back. You can stand more to the left.
To the left?
Yes.
Why?
You can twist your bat anyway.
This is the position which I suspect the person was when he hit the
Just put it in. Is it forcing?
I don't want to force it too much now, my lady, as it might create some new marks.
Does it replicate the mark?
corresponds with the marks, my lady.
When you were standing.
Excuse me?
When you were standing.
No, the bat is in a lower position now. It's an unnatural position if I'm standing.
Let's forget about unnatural positions, what you regard as unnatural. Just remain in the standing position and hit, but don't really contact the door, then it goes in there. Ask Mr. Kruger to do it if you don't want to do it, but you can first do it. Please go back and show us again.
I just want to say something, my lady. It's important to note the natural position. Because as I explained, when you do certain actions, one would not do it in an unnatural position, because it's embedded in your whole system to do it in a natural type of way, not to be uncomfortable when you perform certain actions.
Why is a natural position, according to you, the natural position of Mr. Pistorius?
My lady, as I said, if I have to demonstrate it to you what I meant with a natural position, if the bat was in like it is in here, it would have been I would have been in an unnatural position to handle or to hold the handle of the bat.
You can lift it a little bit, it's fine, it should correspond.
If I lift it, then again...
Push it in.
If I lift it, then again the marks on the side is not corresponding with the side of the door and the panel. And that is the finding that I made. And based on the marks on the side, as well as the physical match in there, was what caused me to believe that the bat was actually in this position.
Colonel, just go back with the bat and in a standing position. You can bend your back, it's fine. You can, not your legs, Colonel, not your legs. Just bend your back. Yes? Does it go in?
It will go in, yes.
Is it unnatural to bend your back when you hit something?
This is a very unnatural, uncomfortable position, my lady.
Is it uncomfortable to you?
It's uncomfortable to me, my lady.
Yes.
And it's unnatural.
Are there any other marks that you say that, apart from the fact that it was uncomfortable and you described as unnatural, did it replicate? Did it match?
You mean the bat matched
Yes.
with the door? My lady, as I said earlier in my testimony in chief, that I couldn't find any other marks on the door which I was comfortable to link with the bat and the action of bashing open the door.
Can you remember my question?
Is there any other marks?
Was it, when you, forget about now that you regard it as unnatural. When you replicated that shot in a standing position, did it match?
In a standing position?
Yes, you were there.
In a natural, comfortable position?
I say forget about what you regard as natural. Did it match when you were standing? Did the mark match?
My lady, I'm not
when he was
certain that I
standing
understand
straight.
When you were standing with your back bent when you went through,
Yes.
did a mark match?
When I was standing like this?
Now you don't have to bend your legs, just your back and go for, like you've done it before.
Like this?
Yes, did it match?
Yeah, it does. It does.
Am I correct in understanding that all the marks will match, also standing, but for the fact that in your mind, in your evidence, you do not regard a bent back as a natural position?
My lady, as I said in our evidence in chief, the marks matched with in a natural position without the legs of Mr. Pistorius. That the marks is consistent with him being in a natural position without these prostheses.
Colonel, I understand it, but we've moved on to get you to demonstrate. Each one that I asked you, each of your marks, you demonstrated also by standing, not so. And each mark matched.
It matched if I bent myself into an unnatural position, yes, my lady.
The only difference is you say that it was an unnatural position for you to be into it at all.
Yes, my lady.
Now, I'm trying to find out in your test how many of these unnatural positions that you described that you photograph, perhaps, that we can look at, to see how many body positions you can take in hitting the door, because it depends on shoulder turn, it depends on how far forward you move with your back, it depends on the distance you're away from the door. How many that you take different pictures, or that you take a video of that so that we can look at it?
My lady, I did not take pictures, neither did I take a video, but I think it's evident in what I showed you here today, the unnatural position that I demonstrated. I must be in before the bat match. I think that is pretty self-explainable.
Now, is it your version, doesn't no matter if he was standing on his stumps according to you or standing up straight, that the bat went through the door, it broke the door?
My lady, that is indeed true. The bat went through the door, and as I said in my statement as well, my understanding of what happened, there was a twisting action of the bat, or a wedging action of the bat, which caused the frame, and if you can just point it out here, the bottom piece broke out, and there's a piece on the back that also broke out. I just slightly or lightly put it back together to keep the frame intact, but this piece was actually loose when I investigated the door. So my view is that the bat went through the door, and the only way to break it open was to wedge it like this and break open the lips on the frame of the door.
Well, if the bat goes in, and I'm just asking, if the bat goes in, you pull it out and you take your hands and you rip that out, what would happen? Have you tried that?
That is part of what happened, what my view is. When the bat went through the door here, my lady, and the twisting action was applied to the frame, this piece most probably broke out, and then the accused could have been able to rip out the rest of the door.
Of course, you could also hit it through, then put your hand in and rip it open. It's equal force.
No, I disagree with that, my lady.
Show me why.
Because if this was intact and the piece in the back of the door was intact, it would have been very difficult to rip it out. When you have the bat through the door and you can wedge it, you've got the leverage, which is much more than just the force of your hands to open.
You say it would be more difficult.
Much more difficult, yes, my lady.
Have you tried it?
My lady, I didn't try it because the door was already broken when I got it.
Now, if we look at this door, it is consistent, and I think it's conclusive, in fact, and if you disagree, we can go through it, that when the shots were fired, the door was intact. It was not broken.
That is true, my lady.
What is your view? When was the door hit?
When was the door hit?
Hit with the bat. Before or after the shots?
My lady, I would say the door was hit after the shots, or at least some part of it broke after the shot. Because if you look at the crack down here, it enters this bullet hole on the one side and it exits on the other side. Or it enters on the one side and exits on this side. So what this tells me is that there had to be a hole in the door before this piece broke off. Otherwise, the crack would have gone straight through.
Lady, may I just inquire something that I was thinking of, and if you would not mind me doing it to communicate just with the recording facility. I'm just concerned when the witness moves away that it's maybe not recorded because he's not in front of the
while he's
microphone. And I was
at
just
the door and he's speaking.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
May I just inquire, my lady? I was just concerned about it. And lady, I'm really. May I ask for a short adjournment just to listen to it, because what I try to avoid is that he's giving evidence away from the microphone, and it's not there. That means that I would have to reconstruct.
Yes.
Take a shot at Janet.
identity